All right, everybody. Max Scherzer is back. Meanwhile, the Mets offense. Welcome aboard, everybody, here to the Sports Talk Nation. Michael Cohen here with you as we got a lot to talk about after the Mets 1-0 loss to the Cincinnati Reds. And this isn't so much about the loss, although there are a few takeaways from it that we'll talk about. It's all about what the promise is for this team moving forward as they're starting to get the big guys back in this starting rotation. And boy, do they need them to come back. Max Scherzer coming back in a big way last night. 6 terrific innings, giving up only 2 hits, striking out 11. And what's most important from that start is this guy looked like he didn't skip a beat. Not one beat at all. Again, 11 strikeouts, but it was the way he mixed and matched with his pitches. His two-seamer, four-seam fastball was just biting all over the corners. He was getting hitters fooled on his slider, which kept tailing away. He was phenomenal in this game. He hit all of his points. And he, again, as I said, he looked like he missed no time at all. And 79 pitches, the Mets felt that was enough on a hot day in Cincinnati. After 6 innings, he was fantastic. The one problem is, of course, the Mets, as they usually do, whenever they have one of their big aces on the mound, whether it's, in this case, Max Scherzer, or as we've seen over the years with Jacob deGrom, they don't score any runs. No runs for the Mets last night in that game, as they ended up losing by a count of 1-0. That's the most frustrating part of all. But again, just the fact that you have Scherzer back in this rotation is a huge positive moving forward. And on top of that, the news that Jacob deGrom is moving towards coming back as well, as he's coming off of an impressive debut for himself, basically, after missing the last 4 months with the shoulder strain. Positive step forward the other day in Port St. Lucie, inning and 2/3, 24 pitches, hit 100 on the radar gun 6 times in that game, and he's going to make his second rehab start on Friday. And if he continues to feel good, there's a very good chance Jacob deGrom is back in this rotation after the All-Star break, and that's certainly what the Mets hope for. So in a lot of ways, it's almost like the Mets making 2 big moves to get 2 big-time frontline starting pitchers near the deadline. Basically, by bringing back, they have their 2 big aces, the 2 guys they thought would be in this rotation from the start of the year, and they wanted it to be the horses of this rotation, certainly down the stretch towards the playoffs. They will be ready to go. And that is what's going to give this Mets team a chance in a lot of these games. And they have a lot of games, for example, with the Atlanta Braves, including this weekend, who they're going to play some big games down in Atlanta this weekend. And Atlanta's right on their heels, only 2.5 games out of first place. In fact, between the two of them, the Mets and the Braves have 15 more games against one another. 15. And it's going to be a lot of big baseball between these 2 arch rivals. The Braves, obviously the defending world champions, who have been red hot of late. And as I said, if the Mets are going to win this division, if they want any chance to win this division, they have got to have both Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer at the top of this rotation, healthy and ready to go have a chance to win this thing. Because we have seen over the last several weeks a lot of cracks in the foundation here with this team. The injuries, of course, continue to pile up. Some inconsistent performances we've seen, like from Carlos Carrasco. Obviously, injuries to guys like Tyler McGill and Chris Bassett, who has missed a couple of starts. So to have the 2 big guys back, right now we have Scherzer back, and hopefully deGrom back after that. That's going to be a big positive. Now, what do I take out of the supposed rumors about next year? And we've seen a lot of this talk, and I really don't want to get into a whole video about whether Jacob deGrom is going to be, what he's going to do in free agency at the end of the season. There's been this rumor that been spread around that perhaps deGrom would end up going to the Braves next year. Perhaps that if he continues to throw at 100 miles an hour, or average around 100 miles an hour on his pitches, that it's going to shoot up his market value past what the Mets can afford, and he's going to end up walking. I can't focus. I can't wrap my head around that right now. Obviously, it's a big concern. You would hate to see that happen moving forward for this team. You like to see Steve Cohen and the Mets find a way to keep Jacob deGrom here long term. But as of right now, your main focus, if you're the Mets and you're the Mets fan, is to get Jacob deGrom back on the field as soon as possible and have him give you a chance, give the Mets a chance to do some big things in the playoffs. That's first and foremost. What this does show, and even after that 1-0 loss, what it did show is that there are some concerns the Mets can address via the trade deadline or maybe by moving some pieces around. One being the fact that they need bullpen help. They really do. Obviously, Trevor May still out. He's on his way back, but even if he comes back, he hasn't always been that very reliable in that bullpen. Guys like Julian Rodriguez, Seth Lugo have been hit or miss at times. The Mets need to get another arm in that bullpen. Edwin Diaz has been incredible. He's had easily his best season since he was with the Seattle Mariners his last year there, I believe in 2018. So, outside of Diaz, the Mets need another arm in there, someone who could be that setup guy, someone who could be that eighth inning guy to help shut the door down, because the Mets don't have really a lot of quality depth, or at least guys who have been pitching well anyway in that bullpen consistently enough so far this season outside of Edwin Diaz. So they need to address that going towards the deadline. It also, what exposed that 1-0 loss, and really what's been exposed here at times throughout the course of this season and over the last month, is the Mets desperately need to find another bat. They need to find another bat. They need to go out there. I look at the designated hitter position and the catching position as two areas in need. J.D. Davis has struggled. Dominic Smith has struggled. Of course, even got sent down this year. Dominic Smith hitting only at .213 on the year with 16 RBIs. Davis hitting .240, has 2 home runs, 14 RBIs. I know he's produced when he's needed to in big spots, like in the Dodgers game a few weeks ago, but overall hasn't hit consistently enough. They need to find a bat, preferably, at least in my mind anyway, a left-handed power bat to even up this lineup a little bit and give it some more juice. Catcher is going to be interesting because I've seen some mentions of Wilson Contreras out there as a possibility who's the catcher of the Cubs. I don't know how realistic it's going to be. The Mets still are on the hook for 2 more years with James McCann behind the plate, and he just hasn't been getting it done. I know he's coming off the hand injury, but 2 for 20 coming off the injury list, and he's hitting 171 on the season. You have Francisco Alvarez sitting there in the minor leagues. He just got promoted to AAA. Do the Mets consider maybe making that leap with him to the major leagues? I know there are a lot of fans who want to see Francisco Alvarez, who has a lot of pop in his bat, big right-handed bat, make that jump to the major leagues right away. I don't know if the Mets feel that he's ready right now, but the fact that they promoted him to AAA now, at this point in the season, has to make you wonder if there's a chance we could see him come August, late August for that matter, going towards September, so that he may even qualify for a postseason roster spot for that matter. So just something to think about, as a matter of fact. But those are really the needs. Third base, Eduardo Escobar is going to, as I mentioned in my last video on the Mets, Eduardo Escobar is going to be here for the rest of the year. He's a veteran guy. He's a good guy in the clubhouse. He's started to hit a little bit better lately. He's had 3 home runs here in the month of July. They're not going to move him around, but would you like to see someone if the Mets could find a player who could be a DH/third baseman, can move around a little bit in different positions? Would I think that'd be the best move for the Mets? Absolutely. They do need some more pop. They need a little more power and more consistency in the middle of the slab. That's just my 2 cents as we move forward. But the fact they got the 2 big guys back, you got, or at least they got one of the 2 big guys back in Scherzer, who looked brilliant the other day, and they got the other one coming eventually in deGrom, has to make Met fans right now as we move forward feel pretty good about themselves. But again, it's going to get tight in this division. It's really going to be interesting to see how things break down in this division. I think this series that's coming up down in the ATL, down in Atlanta, these 3 games, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, down in Atlanta, are going to be huge. And if the standings don't change much of the 2.5 games between the 2 teams, that series could flip those standings if it goes the wrong way. So that's going to be a series to watch this weekend. And Scherzer will pitch. He pitched yet last night, so he would be scheduled to pitch theoretically by Sunday. against the Atlanta Braves. So that's going to be something to watch as well. Mets right now 51, 50, and 31. That's the halfway point of the season. They are on pace to win somewhere between 95 and 100 games if you want to take a look at it from that perspective. They're really in good position to make the playoffs, but you want to see this team capture this division, get one of the top seeds. You want to avoid the wild card round, obviously, which is the best of three. You want to avoid that if you're the Mets, if you can, and get one of those top two seeds. So that's going to be the key here. So really, the keys going into the second half are this for the Mets: can they keep the starting pitching healthy and get those guys moving? Can they add to this bullpen, and can they find another bat? And where is that going to come from? Those are the big questions we have for the Mets as we go towards the second half of the year. Flip it over to the Yankees, who got stunned by the Pittsburgh Pirates 5-2. Yes, last night. They're playing another game there in Pittsburgh later tonight. I'm sure that game, by the time you see this video, that game will probably be in its process. But again, Yankees at 58-23. They have been running roughshod over everybody. They are a home run or nothing team. Are there concerns? Certainly. I know a lot of Yankee fans I've spoken to not too crazy about with the lack of production from Joey Gallo in this lineup, or even off the bench when he was coming off the bench. I understand that. But Aaron Judge has been a beast. Everybody in this lineup has been getting, for the most part, getting big clutch hits when they needed to. And the pitching has been, for the most part, outstanding for the Yankees, who just keep rolling. And oh, by the way, the Mets have a big series in Atlanta. Yankees have a big series in Boston this weekend. 4 games in Boston. Red Sox have been playing good baseball of late. And that, too, is going to be an interesting series. Granted, I know Boston's like a mile away in the standings, like 14, 15 games back in the Yankees. But you don't think Boston would like to trim some of those games back? Show that the Yankees, hey, we know you're rolling, but you're not rolling that well right now. That's going to be an interesting series to watch this weekend as well. So 2 big series coming up here as we move into the heat of July. Remember to like and subscribe right here to the Sports Talk Nation. Follow us here on Twitter at OpenMikeNJ and also Facebook.com/OpenMikeProgram. Talk to you next time.